Morning, folks. We'll give this just a moment. People can join in. All right. Um, so, good morning. Um, Happy weekend, I suppose. We just wanted to do a little wrap up for us from this week. Some of you may have had the chance yesterday evening to join in with us for the Washington Interfaith Network action. And the results of that will bear out over time, but kind of some of the immediate metrics are that there were 2,090 people, 2,090 people who joined together last night to um, think about and hear ways that we might reimagine life together in our community. Uh, the goal had been like 1,000 people with an expectation of maybe 800. And instead, 2,090 people joined together, both via Zoom, but then also watching the event on Facebook Live, and that's great. That's really hopeful, but um, it's not the step. It's a step. So I wanted to make sure that we and Max Brewster, I see you, and I last night in the chat, I want to say we had a goal of 100 folks for Foundry. Um, we got 83 registered before registration closed because the event was too large. I have no doubt that we would have hit that 100 mark. But anyway, they call us out. We're accountable to each other. We hit our 83. I'm sure we had way more than that watching on Facebook. So anyway, good job us. But we have to keep showing up. Um, One of the pieces that came out of last night and that was offered as an immediate action step is ahead of this first budget vote on July the 7th. There is still time to kind of reach out to the council chairman, Phil Mendelson. And I want to say that why that's important. The budget starts with the mayor. The mayor makes the proposal. It then goes to the council and into the committees for oversight, hear from the public, hear from the agencies, make adjustments. They take it to markup within the committees, and the committee chairs can kind of move things around. Then it goes to the council of the whole, which is where it is now. And at this point, the council members can go back and forth a little bit, but in our system in DC, the council chair, which is currently Phil Mendelson, has a lot of power to be able to do some final movements. Um, I don't want to make it sound shady, but it doesn't necessarily have to happen within the committee of the whole. The council chairman can make some moves um, with input and then just make moves basically on his own. So right now, the best target to have your voice heard is to reach out to Chairman Mendelson directly. And so one of the actions that came out of last night was a direct mailer via email straight to the council chair. So I'm going to put that link in here for you now. So if you are a DC resident, if you're a Foundry worshiper, but especially if you're a DC resident, you can email the chairman right now. It's a form email. It's quick, and you can do that. Before we wrapped last night, there were already close to 200 emails that had gone out. So I encourage you to do that. And hopefully we can make some moves. So the reason we're emailing to the chairman is to promote the things like affordable housing, quality jobs, racial equality in our housing and economic development, um, and looking at how we do public safety. those budget priorities are also written up on WIN's website. So if you hadn't gotten a chance to look at them, you still can. And while the DC budget process will begin the phases of wrapping up after July the 7th, with the final vote being over on July the 21st, these types of priorities aren't going anywhere. These types of priorities will hang around. So I'm gonna put a link for those budget priorities in here for you so you can review those. One thing that's really key in there is how we think about affordable housing and how we use public land for the benefit of uh, folks who are low income, people who have been over the last 20 years getting displaced by gentrification. We've lost over 20,000 residents of DC in just over a decade. And if we do not actually take concrete steps to preserve public housing, to build and preserve affordable housing, we'll continue to lose residents as development gets down into the uh, RFK area and into areas of southeast of Ward 7 and 8. Um, to quote Pastor Frankie Grayton, who grew up in DC in the Eastern Market area, a lot of folks aren't opposed to development in the sense that services and opportunities are coming into a neighborhood. However, if those services and opportunities are coming into the neighborhood for somebody else who will be here in the future and not for the people who already live here, that's when the problems start. We've seen it at Berry Farm. Berry Farm is a great example right now. It's now been raised. There's a brand new, not brand new anymore, but very, very new rec center that was built there while residents were still there. Now the rec center is sitting there with no Berry Farm around it. So who is that really built for? When we do these development things, who is that really for? And we need to hold our city and we need to hold our developers accountable to build things for the residents who have been here through times of trial and depression, and they have every single right to be part of the prosperity, um, as we've heard our partners say. Now, something else very interesting happened last night while we were having that meeting. An article came out. NPR's got one of them, but it's all over the place. Basically, FedEx, the naming rights sponsor for the field where the Washington football team plays, it's called FedEx Field, FedEx Stadium, contacted the Washington football team and said, it's time for you to change the name. And we're saying that to you as a big sponsor. That's nice. I think that's nice. And the name should probably be changed, absolutely. And but this was happening at the same time that we were meeting with our interfaith partners. And the reason I said that those budget priorities aren't going anywhere is because one of the things that we talk about is the public land use, and specifically something called Reservation 13. Reservation 13 is located directly south of the RFK Stadium campus. These are two different pieces of land. So the land that contains the RFK Stadium and all of those parking lots is controlled by the federal government. It's leased to DC to do sporting events and nothing else. It's a very long lease. It's about to run out. The land directly south of that is called Reservation 13. The city council has been saying, not all of them, but a lot of them have been saying for years and years now, you know what, football team, if you change your name, you can come back into the city, which the football team has been reluctant about. Now, if there's movement on the name change, then the possibility of the team coming back into town, into the RFK campus, increases. But if that happens, what's going to get built there isn't affordable housing. If that happens, what's going to get built there is an absurdly expensive sporting event stadium, and something that we saw similar to what happened at Navy Yard around Nats Park and what we saw happen in Chinatown around the belovedly called phone booth. A lot of development for luxury accommodations, unaffordable to residents who have been here for an extremely long time, unaffordable to people even who are moving here. So, last night's action steps talks about how are we going to imagine this place. Last night's news articles about the name changes talks about, well, let's see if they change the name and then we'll see about bringing them back in. And the deputy mayor for economic development said, we will have public hearings about it. We'll have neighborhood hearings about it. How that goes if you don't show up is like this. The room gets stacked with people in favor of bringing the team back. The deputy mayor can say that they held hearings, they heard from the neighbors, and the neighbors are all in favor. They build the stadium, they build the luxury accommodations, and we get the same mess on a different day. So when we talk about our action steps for showing up for affordable housing, those action steps must include, and you need to go ahead and just get it in your mind that you're going to show up, must include these neighborhood hearings, which are horrible, generally poorly run. People say all kinds of extremely racist stuff, and you may find yourself being the only voice for affordable housing in the space, but you still need to be that voice. That is especially true for anybody living in Ward 7, where they have drawn the RFK campus into taking it out of Ward 6. And that's important for anybody living in Ward 6 in the Hill East and Eastern Market and Capitol Hill areas. You're going to have to show up to be a counter narrative. If the name changes, people are going to be extremely excited about it, and they'll be like, wow, good job, look at that step for justice. And then that will be the only step, and the injustice of unaffordability and economic degradation and abuse of long-term residents will continue. A name change is not justice. A name change is a step. And that's it. There must be more to it. There must be more to it. And for that to happen, you've got to be there. So go ahead and think now. We got to be there. Now, I said that those are two pieces of separate land. Reservation 13 is not part of that RFK campus, but I guarantee you that if that team comes back, that Reservation 13 will start getting a whole lot of offers from developers to make it City Center East or Wharf East or Wharf on the Anacostia. And that's what we can't have. We need the deeply affordable housing. We have to have it, and you have to fight for it, and you got to start thinking of how you're going to get in that fight right now before it's even on anybody's radar. So I'm putting it on your radar, and I want you to keep it there. We'll stop there. I hope you'll email the chairman. I hope you'll stay engaged. You can start signing up for the roundtables and listening sessions with Win. We will keep you informed as to what's happening, when and where. And so I want to make sure that you are getting in there and you're starting to build the relationships in your neighborhoods, so that you know who you are showing up with. So that if once you get into those little A and C meetings, you know that you are not the only voice in there, and so that you can stand with and for one another and for yourself as we go into this. The last thing I'll leave us with is as we look at things like name changes of really racist mascots, as we watch statues come down, as Pastor Kelly says, by hook or crook, one way or another, they're coming down. As we see those things happening, and as we rightly identify them as steps toward justice, as we change the landscape of how racist things loom over top of us, what are we going to do once all the statues are gone? That's extremely low-hanging fruit. And it's things that should have happened ages ago, and it's things that should have never been there in the first place. What are we going to do once those are gone? We need the policies, we need the budgets. Why not do that now? Please stay safe this weekend. Wear your mask. There's still time to take the census if you haven't done so. Be safe. Keep your neighbors safe. Keep yourself safe. And we will see you on Sunday. Bye, friends.